Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're dialing in from. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share if you find this content helpful. All right. That was long, I know, but yes, we had to go through it. And welcome everybody who joined us. Well, I see Patrick. I see Asaf. Asaf, welcome, 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 welcome. Asaf, I'll just give you a minute or so to say hello to everybody. Asaf has joined us. Today is his first time. Very good gentleman. We've been in touch for a while. So welcome, Asaf. Tell us where you're dialing in from and briefly where you are in your awakening journey.
I don't know where to start. I'm dialing in from California. I'm dialing in from California. So here in the divided states, working my way back home right now. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. But
Yes.
yeah, definitely working my way back home. Hopefully this will be my last year here. And where I'm at in this awakening, um, uh, you know what? Let's just say not far enough.
Okay.
Let's just
Okay.
say not far enough. You know what I mean? Man, you just keep on finding more crust in your eye to keep on scooping out, you know what I mean?
All right.
And and you just want to keep on going. And the more you go, the more you kind of get to peek behind the spiritual curtain from
Mm.
this physical world um and collectively have the spirit of Ubuntu going on. Like, finally getting to say hello and see family face to face and tell my daughters and say, hey, we're finding our family now, we're finding our home. So appreciate the platform and everything. I'm gonna shut up because I do ramble. So yeah, right on.
How long have you been watching us, Asaf? How long have you been watching us?
Oh man. So I'm very bad with time, but I want to say close to probably when you first started.
Okay.
Um, that's what I want to say
Right.
because yeah, I don't miss many videos. Like I've kind of seen everything, and I've spent a lot of time just personally as I've gone through learning a lot. Um, although I was horribly desperate, going back to 2020, I'm gonna try to say this real fast.
Mhm.
Going back to like the 2020 period, when kind of all of us were really getting to that shaking point,
Mhm.
no matter who you were.
Mhm.
And I was horribly desperate. Told my wife at the time that I was like, hey, I really would love to just to be able to just find somebody that kind of gets what I'm saying or kind of understands
Okay.
put in my headset. Let me know if it gets too loud.
We
But
can hear you okay.
okay, cool. But basically what I'm trying to get to is as of course, we're finding different resources online. Different speakers started coming out, started speaking the new information and new books and this and that.
Mhm.
And of course, I had my feelings on things, but the thing that was important to me after I kind of got it was like, oh, this Bible, Black people, us, got it, connection there. Like I didn't get lost in
Mm.
the here, let me go around proving this to everybody. It was go time. It was like,
Right.
okay, well, what else do I need to know about this? And it went from there. So what I'm saying is this: as I'm gathering information online and I'm finding different resources and I'm seeing different people to follow and listen to, I shouldn't say follow, but I'm getting information from. Um, I didn't interact with many people because as I tried to tell my family, it was like I just saw this as like an Indiana Jones movie. You know what I mean? It was like I forget what the scripture is. Maybe somebody can bring it to me, but like, always seeking for hidden treasures. You
Mm,
have to keep seeking for me like hidden treasure, right? And
mm,
the thing is that sounds very poetic and it sounds nice, but when put to practice realistically, what that means is when you're seeking something that's valuable, you're going to run into a lot of um, let's say guards
mm.
that you got to get through. So there's going to be a lot of traps. There's going to be a lot of things that you got to get through to get to that valuable thing. It's not
Okay.
just we're not in a situation where it's handed to us. So we have to search and find and treasure hunt. So that means as I'm getting this information, I'm going to get a lot of mixed and false information.
Mm,
So
mm.
that's what I was trying to get to.
Okay.
So it's like so as I was doing that and listening to you and listening to a wide range of people, it's taken time now to kind of whittle down to kind of what my weekly regimen is. Kind of, who I'm rocking with and everything. Because a lot of people that I was really feeling initially kind of fell by the wayside, and there were certain people on this platform, and of course I know a lot of us follow like Black re-education and things like that. I still wanted to wait and listen because I needed to see, well, let me see your development. Because as I did see over time, a lot of these platforms and a lot of people that I'm like, hey, like you really, really woke, you got it. And then you can just see left turns all of a sudden.
Mm,
And it's an interesting thing. And I didn't want to get caught up in that. And I didn't want to because I can kind of be vocal around my family and friends. I didn't want to introduce them into things that are confusing.
okay.
I start saying one thing and oh, hey guys, hey, by the way, my
Hey.
bad. That's all, you know. And so as far as watching you and everything for a very long time and taking a lot of notes, some of the things I've learned have been, man, really cool. I can't wait to argue with you for over a few things. I got because and but I just yeah. So I've been following for a minute, and it's like of course, this is your guys' first time hearing my voice, but to me, you're already like family,
Yeah.
like you're kind of on repeat sometimes. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
mainly me and my daughter, man. Like we sit here and just be on some notes, and yeah. But did you hear? All right, now let's pull it up. So
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question. I said I wasn't gonna
No,
ramble,
you
and
did. You did answer it. And I was asking that because
I
the reason I asked that family is because I noticed messages from Asaf way back, I would say around summer or August, July, August of 2022.
okay.
I think that's one of the earliest times I noticed messages. And you're right, we started around June of 2022.
Wow, yeah.
So, so you're right about sending message, and you would send messages in and out, week in, week out. He would be the one saying, "Hey, let Mama Emma or Mama Royal daughter know that I like this point and I like that point." You know, so he's been with us all along. He's just been in the shadows, but yeah, he's been with us all along. Welcome to the family.
Right
There's
on.
a lot of people, they're not new to you. You may be
Right.
new to them, but yeah, welcome to the family. And for those who've joined in while I was talking, we were discussing the book of Maccabees, First Maccabees, chapter 9 to 12. We're just continuing on with this study of this book. And now it's discussion time. Anything, questions, comments? Let's hear it. Ray, you can just unmute and get started. I see you're burning with questions.
As I said in the chat, here's the Greeks again,
Yeah.
mixing everything up because some of the names, Cleopatra was more than one woman. After her, it became a title.
Mm,
Just like Alexander became a title.
mm,
Uh, Ptolemy became a title. Hadrian
mm,
became a title. They all, if when you look through history, you see the second, third. Although the modern day Egyptians are trying to cover up the real story of Cleopatra,
mm.
and then when Cleopatra is two words. Cleo is a Greek word, which is confusing. Nobody really knows, but Patra means father.
father?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you see how the Greeks had their hand when they got our scriptures.
Mm,
They used us, as we see how the conspiracy against us, against our brother in the
mm,
story. They
mhm,
use us to, hey, rewrite the story, take yourself out of it. And we did.
mm,
You know, Jonathan and Demetrius. I mean, I messed up the name, sorry, but they were family.
mhm,
You know, and as we said, the prophecies of Hosea, you're going to return back to your ex-lovers thinking you're going to get it better. And there it is. We're conspiring with our enemy, who's conspiring with our enemy to kill our brother.
mm,
And the cycle just keeps on repeating itself.
mm.
That's it for now. I got more to say, but I'll wait and get to.
All right. Thank you. All right, let me look for hands up. Or okay, Book of SF. Do you have your hand up? Go ahead.
Good thing. This whole book reads very interesting to me. It's right when I start talking, my phone rings. Happened at my wedding too. So the book is interesting to me the way it reads. It's an interesting connection. I always thought that there was a lost period of time when it comes to like the Bible, and then we just jumped into this new era of kind of Roman history that we were taught in school, right? And this book, like, it clearly starts showing a bridge. But thing that's interesting to me, or that's kind of upsetting to me, that I'm seeing in it is when I'm going through this, the militant in me gets upset because I see here in, was it Maccabees 10, like Demetrius, he sends words of peace, right? And he wants to make peace. And you know, we don't want to. So there's all this negotiating, like you were bringing out in your summary. There's all this negotiating, trying to get uh Isole on his side and on the king's side. There's all these politics going on, and it's frustrating to me because I did get a little mixed up with the names and who's speaking right now because it all just kind of sounds Greek. But the thing that's frustrating, it's like in the world of negotiating in business, when you have to go to such extents of, hey, y'all used to pay taxes and we used to charge y'all a bunch of stuff for taxes. Don't worry about that no more. Hey, you guys used to have to give us all this stuff. Don't worry about that no more. Hey, we used to bother y'all on holy days. Hey, anybody mess with you, you come and talk to me. We're not doing that no more. You guys are taken care of. And so and so. And there's all this butt kissing, and then there's both butt kissing from both sides, and it is very reminiscent of like what is going on today almost in the United States, at least with the black vote, as they call it. Like, you're doing all this bucket, like, we have value, but it's like our time is spent negotiating with those we don't even need to negotiate with. Like we're needed, and it's like we don't even need to be in the middle of y'all mess. It's y'all mess. Y'all go do each other. And it's like they needed, like, between us, both forces knew who they needed to make things work. And it kind of makes me feel again like, man, it's another situation of, are we did we like, when do we learn to not be used as pawns? When do we learn to just kind of, use the block button? You know what I mean? On some of these nations that keep on. I think with us examining history and with the knowledge of history plus this awakened spirit of Ubuntu, I see why separations have to happen. I see why things kind of have to play a certain way, because everybody can't be on the same mindset of, you know what, we really don't need you, you need me. Because Where we tread is the valuable land. That's the land that belongs to us, and it's that part of Mother Earth that everybody is seeking at the moment. And the way we give our value away sometimes is very frustrating, just as we see too later on. Boom, the betrayal comes again right away. You know, we see that that's how it works with modern day apartheid and this and that. And we see our family. When I only see videos, but some of our family in some of these religions back on the continent, in the way you still like can put this faith and this hope into, well, I think they're going to tell me the truth this time. Like, come on, man, let's stop. Like, these are documents for us to like, it should be a smack in the jaw. Like, come on, like, are you hearing me? Stop being stop. Okay, and get there.
Well said. Well said. Well said. This is for us to learn from. Yes, absolutely. Michael, go ahead.
Sammy family. Hey, my 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 biggest thought of this is exactly where are these places that we've been taught, especially Rome, Greece, Sparta. In history, we're taught about this dark age and all that. I I always think like this, reading reading these historical books, because I put it like that. I think that the way it's panning out, that these places they tell us about, these great cities, Rome and Greece, I think they were in South Africa. And I don't mean like founded or whatever, but in that in that Renaissance, a lot of stuff could have happened, and we could write whatever. I think about Europe. Well, wasn't it over in Europe? Isn't that where the king sent the first the first released sons of uh, the royal family from Babylon? Babylon, then they go up to Europe first. And if I'm not mistaken, would that have already been run by the Moors? I'm just saying, to me, everybody looks like us that's put in these certain places before the conquering come. And I think it'd be really simple to write what we want as historian winners. Of course, I'm gonna make it seem like, we did all of this. I could change the name, who's who and what's what, but certain things don't move. You can't move no mountain. You can't move certain things. Mother Earth lets you know. It's like our past. You can look in our different our different relatives. File our bloodline or DNA or whatever. They don't call it Mother Earth for nothing. That's where we came from. So you can look back into the past archaeology by digging, and she's showing you the bones. She's showing you um, basically the facts. I can write whatever I want to write. I can make my mouth say whatever. That doesn't make it factual. I can stand upon uh, my thoughts as a historian or a mishistorian, I like to call it, because I think it was on purpose to mishistorize. If there was a word, I'll claim it right now, because it was too much of it. And as a tool of deceit, I mean, it has to be, that you can't get no better than that. But the spirit that he has put on us now, I'm glad to be alive, because to see through it, and it's so clear, but I know that it's him, especially asking for it. If we get to get together and come together and talk about things that I'm sure most of us been scratching our heads about and seeing things for 10 years, 20, 30 years or something, like me since I was a child. But I thank him for to understand it because I know it's nothing but him, and it's actually refreshing to be living at this time to be a part of it. Because I now to look at some of this history in with certain people, it's a shame. You can't even talk to them, and I'm a half 100, and some of these guys got me about 20 something years. I I'm not downing them or anything, but I can't sit and talk to them. You're talking to a brick wall. You have to just go back and remember that this isn't for everyone right now. They're not receiving it for whatever reason, but it sure doesn't make it not the truth. You can get the
think that's a really good point, Michael. These places, they gotta exist, and they have immovable structures, immovable landmarks, lakes, rivers, seas, mountains. And why is it that we don't see evidence of the same for some of these places, you know? And I don't, I haven't found a lot of history pre 12th century for Europe,
yeah, yeah.
you know? Uh, where were they living? Where are they? Why aren't they documented? You know, I see things written by Herodotus and Plato and Aristotle, but they're talking about what they found in Egypt, and what they learned there. So, there's a gap that is unexplained, you know, and unfortunately, they tend to be the ones who want to tell us what it is, but they don't provide the evidence to back it up, you know. um, I'm coming to you, Nick and Sister Elba. I was just looking up Israel, modern day Israel, and Egypt. So you all remember the story of Moses when he was a little baby. He was put in the river, right? The king or the pharaoh at that time was afraid that the Israelites were becoming too many. Therefore, the king decided to kill all the babies, male boys, male babies below the age of 2. That's why Moses' mother had to throw him in the river, and then he ended up in Pharaoh's house, right? So it was a population control thing. Now, I want you to think about this. Egypt, today's Egypt, right, is 46 times bigger than today's nation of Israel. So if the Most High was getting the Israelites out of Egypt because there were too many and the Egyptians wanted to wipe them out, the Most High said in Exodus, I think it's chapter 3, verse 19, when he spoke to Moses in the burning bush story, he told him, I'm going to use you to lead this people to a large land. So I expect a large land to be something bigger than Egypt, not something smaller, 46 times smaller than Egypt. That's what I expect from the Most High. So right there, the math of the size of the land that is supposed to be Israel today doesn't math up. Either the Most High is lying or somebody is lying to us that is the promised land. All right, Sister Elba, go ahead.
Dear me, family. Just two quick points, really. I was reading along in the cipher as you were reading, Elder Maccabi, and I noticed in chapter 11 where you said that what was it? Whereupon he took his journey into, I think you said Syria and Aram. In the cipher it says Spain, and I was just like, huh? Spain? I was just like, how? Where? Like, how does that even, all map up? So having to unlearn everything that they taught us in history in school is just like, mind-blowing. Second point I wanted to raise was when you were talking about, I think it was in chapter 10, I think you read verse 21, where it says, so in the 7th month of the 160th year of the feast of, the tabernacle, Jonathan put on a holy robe and gathered together forces and provided much armor. So now if we're looking at, obviously, the new year, the calendar and everything, and they go from January to December. But then when you look at the calendar that a lot of employers and companies use, they go from April to March. So it's just like, okay, so why is that the tax year starts from April to March? So obviously, if you're counting back the 7th month, then that means the 7th month is October. So it's just trying to work out basically all of the lies. Yeah. So yeah, that's my input in Getter.
All right, Sister Albert, I appreciate that. We were talking before before this session started. We're talking about the calendars, and we were saying, let's take it upon ourselves individually to really study the calendars that are out there in order to determine the calendar that we as a nation, Isolele, should be following. It's definitely not the fiscal calendar running from March to April or January to December, the calendar year. There's our calendar that we had when we left Egypt and that we were to follow, and we need to find that calendar and to use it because, just like we've seen with many other things, they've misled us or they totally hid our information from us, so that they can dominate us. And the time for us looking up to them for leadership or guidance is up. It's over. They're the ones who have to come to us because now we know about Psalm 147:19. We're not the ones going to them for the information. All right, Brother Nick, go ahead.
I think, to reiterate something that you said, and just to put it into perspective, I think there are certain, the lies are too many, first of all. I mean, it's just a bunch of just lies everywhere. And they use words, text, maps, places, change all sorts of things in order to try to make it work. But the math doesn't math up. So, for example, when I look at what you were just reading, the Maccabees, there's a group called Matthias or Mattathias or something. Those guys are traced back to Kilimanjaro. They settle in Kilimanjaro. They still have their names there. They're called. They come when you dig in. It's called Machathite or something. So they trace down to Kilimanjaro. They still have a village there, and they still settle there in part of Tanzania. But the other thing is that you notice the the people who claim to know and they've got all these degrees and PhDs and everything, they keep on producing these papers to kind of like add more mortar to their structure in terms of educational levels as part of the plan to dumb down anything else that someone can bring up. So it's like if you're a liar, you keep on adding lies based on your education levels so that you reinforce the theory that you are trying to push or the narrative that you're trying to push. So that has become so brazen because you are going to face people who are saying, "Oh, you don't have any theological doctorate or a PhD. This is a historian, biblical historical professor." That kind of thing is what they're going to be arguing with. And like you said, it's either God is telling the truth or someone is lying. So just to conclude, where the word wilderness is one of them, just to give you an example, just to say why it doesn't make sense. So God asked Moses all this time to get the people out of Egypt so that he can bring them into the mountain so that they can worship him. One part of worship was sacrifices. So why would Moses bring all these people to a desert to worship with dead animals? Doesn't make sense. It's in that desert. So are you going to sacrifice, thinned out animals or what? So you kind of see that narrative, and it plays down to the mixture of like Spartans, Greek, because we have Greek land in Southern Africa. If you look at the maps, they are called Greeks, Griq, UA land. There is Namakwa land, who are relatives of the Greek land people. So you kind of see now, then you have Herod in the old maps, which is just above, I think, below Congo, somewhere in Angola there. So you kind of see all this information they're twisting, and they started very early. They started when we were young to teach us their version of twisted history. So by the time you get up to like now, it's like a battle within yourself. So you're battling what you have been taught, all these lies which have been repetitive, and you have to battle it within yourself to look more keenly, as opposed if you're a newborn baby into the truth, much easier just to believe. I don't know if it makes sense. Ingeta.
Thank you,
Yeah, get
Nick. Thank you, Nick. I'll not go into the wilderness topic unless somebody wants to see it specifically, but you can look it up in the Strongs, in the Blue Letter Bible. You'll see one of the times it's used, it means desert, but most of the times it doesn't mean desert. So when you're reading it, be sure to read it in the proper context. And be sure to read the proper version. My least favorite version, right? New Living Translation. I don't even want a copy of that in my house. They translate 3 to 2. I mean, who does that? These people are crazy. All right, let's go to Mama Dora, and then we'll go to Elder Patrick.
Elder Patrick's hand was up first.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Elder.
Good to see you, brother Tavi. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. The weather is good. It must be better back home, man. I wish I was there.
All right, I'll touch on. I didn't know you were going to touch on the year. The year is 6261.
Mm.
The year is 6261, and the new year is going to be celebrated in 11 days. I'll have to give you those information as to how we calculated these dates, but it is based on all the information that we gathered in our biblical studies. But the year is 6261, and we celebrate the new year. And this is in line with the celebration of the new year, as in October is the new year as the rainy season comes along. One of the ones that you were talking about is, again, we have to go to the bastardized English language. It is the worst thing that really confuses a lot of people, and a lot of people that are awakening, and they come up against these very words that are, English is a part of German, and it's really not, I don't know how to explain it. So I'll give you one example. One of the wrong translations that you know. There's a country in Southern Africa. The capital city is Blantyre. Brother Mtawi, what do you call it?
Malawi?
Yes, we
Mhm.
call it Malawi,
Mhm.
but that is the translation of the English people.
Mhm.
But in our actual translation, here's the actual translation: Malevi.
Oh. Okay.
Malevi as in Malevites.
Yes.
Malevi.
Mhm.
And so when they come to translate it, they say Malawi.
Mhm.
So if you want to go to one of the bastardized translation, you have to go to the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, Sumerian, whatever. In the Anunnaki describes, and they say there was a far off place in the Abzu, a far off place in the Abzu where it's gold and all that was there. And there was a community there of people. But the Abzu is not Abzu, because the Abzu is actually Abantu,
Mm. Mm.
the Bantu people,
Mhm.
not the Abzu. So essentially, what you're talking about, what many people fail to understand is the fact that they're talking about you. They are talking about you. And what they have manipulated is enough to make it seem like it's some scientific, that is something that we can't do as a people, but actually we did. And that's where we find a little bit of a struggle, because we are not able to relate that it is us that we're there. It is us. But because when you see a language like Greek, you think, oh, it's the Grecos. And so it's nothing to do with us. No, it's really you. That's where you get kind of lost. They're really talking about you, but they're trying to manipulate you. And there's a cartoon that was recently sent out, which said they're waking up. They're waking up to the actual information. And that is where it really gets tricky. So learn the translations in the language itself, and you'll be able to do that. I'll send you the link on the dates, and then you can add on to it. All right? Good to
Yeah.
see you guys. Uh-huh.
Elder Patrick, before you go, you know, when we went to South Africa, we went through Lilongwe and Blantyre.
Yes.
And Brother Nick, if you're there, please turn on your camera, because you've just reminded me about the Malawi people. So, Brother Nick, we sat next to a gentleman on the plane, and he explained to us what the symbol or the logo for, or the flag of Malawi is. What is it?
Fire. The fire people. Yeah.
What are they known for? Do you know?
Witchcraft?
No.
Yeah, you call it witchcraft, but you call it
Yes.
magic.
Yes.
Magic.
Yes.
Magic.
Magic.
Yes.
They are
And
magicians.
yes.
Guys.
Yes.
They are guys.
Yes. And actually we had that discussion with a gentleman, and you know, he was saying, you know, the colonialists, they branded it witchcraft.
Yes, there you go.
You know, but for them, it's the way they communicate with God.
Mm-hmm.
And the power of God is done through these people. Now, Brother Nick asked this gentleman about this witchcraft and the people who practice it and everything. This gentleman told us something about where the really, really like dangerous or powerful, let me say, witchcraft comes from. Brother Nick, tell us, what did he where did he say that they go for that?
Northeast, was it Northeast Tanzania?
Uh-huh. Kilimanjaro. Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, you can connect these dots all day long, okay? These people, I mean, we have Kamba-speaking people. Kamba is a Bantu tribe in Zambia. And we believe those people are Levites, you
In
know?
Tanzania as well.
In Tanzania, all the way to the north to Ethiopia and places like this. You know, if somebody claims they're the people, show us the evidence. All right. Mamara Odore, go ahead. Good to see you, Elder Patrick. Thank you.
Matondo. I'm enjoying the conversation. You know, Esau did a number on Jacob and still is doing, in the Babylonian captivity, Esau was the one that helped Babylon to destroy Jacob. And we remember in the Babylonian captivity, as Sister Elba spoke about Spain, that they deported a lot of Judeans to Spain and Portugal. And, they lived in Spain and Portugal for like 700 years. And they ended up ruling Spain and Portugal until the Spanish Inquisition, where they got the letters from the Pope, and it started the slave trade. But, Amos 1, the whole of Amos 1 talks about this same Maccabean war, and it talks about the Most High saying he will come back to punish all these nations that we're just reading about in this book of Maccabees that you mentioned today. They're mentioned in Amos 1. In verse 8, it talks about Ashdod. And I will cut off the inhabitants of Ashdod, and him that holdeth the scepter in Ashkelon, and I will turn mine hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish, said the Lord God. So in verse 11, it talks about, thus said the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away my punishment therefore, because he did pursue his brother with a sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. So all those nations that we were just reading about in the book of Maccabees, in Amos 1, it talks about the Most High saying he's coming back for these people, and he got something for them, and he writes in this very descriptive language what he's going to mete out on them. So even as the sister mentioned, how Spain and Portugal and how they changed the names of these countries so many times to confuse us. But the Most High didn't forget, he knows who is who. And, the behavior that we're seeing in the Maccabees, the things that we're seeing in the Maccabees, it reminds us of what's going on now. And don't think, that all of this is not orchestrated by the Most High. I remember like a couple of weeks before that war with Ukraine and Russia, I had this dream. I think I mentioned the dream before. And I was walking down the street in where I came from, in a village that I was born in Trinidad. I was walking down the main road with somebody, and we walk up to a third person. I don't know the man, but we're standing at the junction. It's like a 4 roads junction. And while we're talking, somebody says, oh, look, it's Simon Simo. And I understood in the dream that they were talking about Simon Toko. And so I turn around to see him, and all of a sudden, this big, loud noise comes from the sky, like it cracked open. And I look up, and when I look up, I see these Mudeli in Roman uniforms. Those ancient Roman uniforms, but they're hovering in the sky. And they have their hands on a sword ready to pull it out. But they're looking at Simon Toko for the instruction. They're looking down, and they're hovering and they're looking down at him, waiting for him to tell them, it's time to move. And I didn't understand the dream, because these people that I saw were Mundeli in Roman old army uniform. And it was like 2 weeks later that war broke out. And the more I see, how things are happening in the world, the more I understand that the dream was really saying that, the Most High is really the author and the finisher of this. And what he spoke of in Amos 1, what we're seeing in the world is just the beginning of this rewarding them, that he was saying that he was going to systematically destroy all these nations for coming up against his people. Because they were literally in the people's land, fighting for the people's land, for Israel's land, for Isolele's land, in their land. When Isaiah was there, the Romans were in charge. And if you read the history, you will see that Esau is a progenitor of the people we call the Romans today. So the Romans were in charge. So these people tell you, oh, they've never been on the inside. They've never been inside of Africa. They were all up and through there, because this is where all these wars were taking place. So, they changed the names, they changed land size, land masses, just so that they could confuse us. But the Most High, he knows, and he didn't forget. And all these wars and many wars that we're seeing now is Amos 1 starting to take place, because he promised that it would happen, and he never fails on his promise. And get that.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. My goodness. Yes. I have posted on the chat there, Jeremiah 49:10. I thank Mama Emma for bringing this scripture to me. I was not aware of it many months ago. It talks about Esau, but I have made Esau bare. Look up the word bare. It means to strip off. So you're stripping off some kind of covering. Now, who is Esau? Esau is a twin brother of Jacob. So if Jacob is Isolele, is Bantu, they looked alike. He was black as can be, if Jacob was black as can be. But they were of the same complexion, all right? They were of the same DNA from their father Jacob. I have uncovered his secret places. I'm exposing him. He won't be able to. Then it says, and he shall not be able to hide himself. I mean, you can't hide yourself if you stick out like a sore thumb. Esau could, because he looked like his brother, right? But then now look at this. It says, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. That's talking of the future. His seed is spoiled. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. I'm not a medical doctor. I have never claimed to be one, but I have read something called OCA 1, and it goes on to OCA 2, OCA 3, up to 7. These are genetic mutations that make one to have certain features that look different. Y'all can look it up. It's in some medical journals, stuff that is too complicated for me to break down. But this is how the Most High explained it, so that my little brain could understand it. May he give you understanding of what he's talking about there, or who he's talking about. Who is Esau? Who is his seed? Sister Vanessa, go ahead.
Again, my head is popping off my shoulders again. You guys always mess up the Americans every single time. It is unbelievable how now watching them call themselves Africans, which is so insulting. That Nkosi said something last night. I was sleeping, but it got in my ear. And he was like, if you don't have this, you can't claim to be African. Okay, while we don't particularly care for what Esau did, you know, the fact is that he's still African. It's just that your heart is not in the right place. You don't want to serve Sunni. You don't want to do what Tata has told us to do. You don't want to follow these commandments. But to see white people come into Africa and to see them dress, put on the attire, and try to learn the language and everything else, and then superimpose themselves, not just once, but now for the millionth time, you're coming to say that you are now us. You want to be us without the problems, without the struggle, without all of it, but you claim to be us now. And then you want to come to the land again, and you want to take from us again. And it is just so repetitive that it makes me ill. But this is the question that I want to ask. I came from a Pentecostal household, as you all know. And Ray and I were discussing, you know, where do you think they are? Because even with my family here now, and me and Michael have the same situation. Parents who are in church cooked. I mean, honey, can't get them undone if you tried. You know, it is, you know, Ray still plotting to break the other Jesus hand in the kitchen. He gonna break the hand. It's gonna happen. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't care when he do it. I just don't want to be there. But it is, they're so baked. But the very thought of thinking that they would miss the kingdom coming down, that they will miss this, you know, it does. It breaks my heart. It definitely breaks my heart, because I'm telling you, when you say well done, Matavi, I mean, the mere thought of a Black Jesus sends them into like, girl, we're gonna have an intervention for you right now. We're gonna lay our hands on you. Come out. You know, that is where they are. And I'm like, y'all understand. I'm not trying to mess y'all up. I want us to be on the same page. And so when you don't, you know, I don't want to think, you know, Ray is so like my father. He wants to get in my father's face at this point. And my father, I'm just going to be honest with y'all. My father was a sharecropper, okay? The son of a sharecropper. Where it came to education, the man knows how to count money. But if you would tell all the stuff that we're talking about right now, it's just going to send his brain to like, woo, I off. I can't do this. But to tell him, like, you know, like I said, I was sharing the name, Tatan Zombie. He's a zombie? You mean? I can't. I can't. And I told Ray, I said, I'm not having these conversations. Seriously, my question is, where do y'all think that, you know, the ones that are cooked, are they going to be more cooked? I mean, seriously, I'm just asking the question, because I don't want to think of my parents as lost. My stepmom and my dad, I don't want to think of them as lost. I don't want to consider my brothers and sisters lost as well. I'm not trying to shove it down their throat, you know, don't do this, you know, lest they turn again and rend you. I'm not looking to be torn up, but my heart is torn where they are concerned. Ingeta.
Oh my, Sister Vanessa. Man, we miss you when you're not here. You see how you got people crying. I don't know if they're laughing or crying, but it's both of them. But it's real. I mean, I appreciate the stuff you're talking about, because it's so real. And I'm sure each one of us has people, if not in their family, at least friends, who are encountering this kind of scenarios, you know, where you show people scripture and they say you're misinterpreting it. That's not what it means. I mean, I was discussing with somebody the other day and I said, okay, let's turn to the book of Matthew, chapter 15. This is Isaiah speaking. But he answered her not a word. Chapter 15, verse 24, sorry. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of Israel, the house of Israel. I asked, who was he sent for? They told me all people. So I said, now I'm talking about this verse. You know, what does this verse, who does he say he was sent to? I mean, he said it, his own words, you know, and some of these things, like Brother Nick said, you just ask the question and you know, and they know either the scripture is wrong or God is wrong or I'm wrong in my interpretation, you know, and let them answer it for themselves at their own time. You know, it's not debates, it's not arguments, no, but keep dropping. You drop a seed today, somebody else will come and water it, the wonder will do his work, you know, and then eventually they start coming around. I mean, I was discussing with my wife and kids yesterday when we were breaking bread for the Sabbath, and we were talking about the size of Israel versus Egypt, you know, and my little boy had a piece of paper and I said, okay, if that paper is Egypt, make another piece of paper that is the size of Israel. And he made a really tiny paper. And we were just laughing and we were saying, okay, did the Most High take them there? You know, I mean, if you have to find humor, whatever the Most High shows you, however the Most High shows you to do it, just be obedient and do it. You know, he does say in his word that he'll gather us. He'll gather us, you know. I mean, think about it. A few years ago, or whatever time in the past, you were the very well done person. You know, I mean, I don't know if I know a more well done person than the Apostle Paul. You know, he was taught, you know, in the best Ivy League of the Pharisees and Sadducees, you know, and he had his awakening moment on the way to Damascus, and he, you know, they even hung him upside down in Rome, fighting for what he believed, you know. All right. Yeah, but keep going. Don't give up, anybody. Don't give up. Just do your part. Give them the information, pray for them, love them, you know, but tell them, you know, this is what it says in the scriptures. All right, who we got next? I'm even confused. I don't know who we got next. Okay. I see Mama Emma, Ray, Royal Daughter, Michael, who has not spoken. Let's have Mama Emma go first.
Get this is hot. Refining the fire is refining. There's a scripture in the Brit Hadashah, and I was trying to fix my snack and listen to you all. So it's in James, I think, Book of James, and it talks about the gift that some of the people are going to need in these last days for their family members. And it says you have to snatch them out, hating the smell of fire on their very clothing. And that's paraphrased. So I don't know, I can't tell you exactly where it is right now. And I didn't look it up, but I will look it up and put it in the thing, or somebody can go ahead and look it up. So that could be encouragement to you, Vanessa, and also, again, it's the English language. They are lost. We were lost, but we are found. We are now found. We know who we are. We know where we're going. We know who our Father is. So if you say to them, you don't have to use the word lost. You're trying to help them to know that they are found, that the Most High has found them through you, through Ray, and that's, again, you know, that's my thing on about this English language. You know, everybody's not afraid to say it now. You know, it's a bastard language. Okay, what does that mean? It was a language that was used by the bastard son in connection with what Patrick said, the Anunnaki, all those things to keep us tied up, tangled up in the book of Maccabees, you know, which what the Ray said, oh, that's in Hosea, you know, he's telling us already, okay, who's the one king that already told us, we know how to serve our creator. But he said, this is what we have to do. And what have they done? And what are they continuing to do? So we need to focus on who we are, continue listening to him give us the directions on to where we're supposed to go, when we're supposed to get there, and what we're supposed to do. Now, I was thinking about this too earlier in the conversation. This is war. Okay, and you guys know about war. Ray, you really know about war. What do they do when they first do war? They attack unknowingly, you don't know when they're coming. And then when they take the people, what do? They strip them of everything. They take them out of their known place and put them in an unknown place. Okay. Basically, this is what the Most High is telling us. We know who we are. We know where we need to go. We need to have a plan where all the people who say, I'm waking up, and don't be afraid of them, because we already know in the book of Exodus, they were all together. We're scattered. So we don't know, we do now, we don't know who's who. Confusion of faces. But we don't have to worry about that because the Most High knows. So all those people who say, we need to make a way to get them where we're supposed to be. And we're supposed to drench them in the language, the culture that we don't know, but somebody knows. And those people are waking up too. And they're waking up based on some of the things they've heard us say. And they're starting to say that now. So, but we keep focusing on what they say the enemy is going to do. And this is what he's going to do and how he's going to do it and when he's going to do it, all those kinds of things. You know, I mean, I was looking at the weather. It is amazing over here. In September. But this is not typical September weather in the Northern Hemisphere. But it reminds me of when I was a little girl in Alabama, and this is the typical kind of weather. Just slowly, the trees are slowly dropping their leaves. I mean, it's just beautiful. So all I'm saying is we're on the right track, and the path is getting narrow, just like it says, a narrow path. And we got to let a lot more baggage drop off because we can't get through that path with all that we're still carrying, individually and as a nation. But, you know, we're on the right path. Yeah, I wasn't going to say all that at this point, but praise the Most High. Yeah, yeah. Awesome insight going on. Ray and all the brothers, I said, let them have it today. Just let them go. Just let them go for it. But then my sister came in there like, okay, I gotta give her a little nudge. She's okay. She's on the right track too.
All right. Thank you, Mama Emma. Okay. Ray and then Mama Royal Daughter. Let's go.
Okay, I got my mic on. You know, when we speak of engines of war, like we see in the movies on TV, they had catapults that threw stones, flaming balls of fire. They knew how to mix a compound with brush, fling it through the air, and also they had the huge trees on wheels to ram gates. It's also written in in 70 AD how the Romans and Esau damaged the temple. But also going back to Esau, how he's being uncovered, you realize Esau is going to pay the more terrible price than the Gentiles, because Esau should know better. And throughout scripture, every time I pull up the word strip naked, it's saying Esau. Even in Hosea was talking about Maccabees 300 to 400 years before it happened. I mean, he didn't miss nothing. And to know that the Spartans and the Jews are family, it just keeps on showing who we are. It's like I think Mike said before the Renaissance, listen, everything was us. Everything but our wickedness towards the law, we were handed over back to Egypt. You know, I'm saying Jose again, going back to Egypt and Syria is where we went back to, our old lovers. And then again, Vanessa, let me tell you something. I'll talk to you later. I'm still laughing about what she said. And Geta.
Thank you, Brother Ray. Mama Royadora, go ahead.
What to do? You know, Esau is Esau is the ultimate chameleon. He's a deceiver. And even in everything he does, his thing is deception. Because even before the blessings was passed on to Jacob, when Esau's father told him to go out and kill the meat and whatever, kill the animal and make him the meal. Esau had already married 2 Canaanite women and an Ishmaelite woman, and they were giving his father and mother a headache. That's why the mother said, don't let Jacob marry among here. Go back to my father's land and find somebody for him to marry. So Esau married everybody. He didn't make a miss. So, you know, if you keep on marrying outside your race, that's who you become. And it almost happened to us. If it was not for the Most High, because here in the West, none of us have pure African blood. You very rarely find somebody with pure African blood. So, you know, it would have happened to us too. But Esau, one branch of Esau got captured in Rome. They weren't known as Rome then. They were the Romi or Romai or something like that. And they got captured. They were enslaved there. And they rose up and became a nation there. And they intermarried and then they ruled. And Esau became Rome. Esau also, if you look at the books of the Torah, they'll tell you Esau is the father of the Khazars. So, you know, his branches run very far and wide. So you'll see him among the Black races, among the Caucasian race. He's everybody and everywhere because he's a chameleon and he's a deceiver. So, you know, Sister Vanessa said something very interesting about, you know, she wonders if her people are going to be saved. In Jeremiah 17:10, the Most High says, the Lord searches the heart and tests the minds to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruits of his deed. So the Most High is going to judge by the condition of your heart and by what you know. He's not going to hold you responsible for information you don't know. I remember my father's grandmother, she was Catholic. I mean, well done. Cook. She says, I will die a Catholic. You know, but she made sure my father, because my father's mom died when he was very young and he was raised by his grandmother. She made sure my father went to church every Sunday. And what that did was she sparked a love for the Most High. Even though it was misled, when my father became an adult and he started seeking the Most High, you know, he left the Catholic Church and all his life, my father, you know, followed the Most High. And my father and my mother together trained us. So, you know, They go on what they knew. She knew what she knew was that she wanted to serve God, you know, and that's what she knew. They had no idea. We would have no idea if it wasn't for the awakening, you know? So the Most High awakened us because now we, being awakened, have the privilege of bringing our bloodlines, not only ourselves, but we get to bring our bloodline back to the Most High. And that's a very enviable position. But as for our ancestors, if they didn't know, he is not going to hold them responsible. It's where their heart was. And most of these people that trained us, even though they trained us in the wrong way, you know, their heart was to serve the Most High. And that's all he wants. And get that.
Ingeta, thanks for that explanation. Brother Asaf, the Jews and the Spartans are mentioned as being kindred in chapter 12, verse 21, and I put it in the chat in there. It says, "It has been found in writing concerning the Spartans and the Jews that they are kindred and that they are of the stock of Abraham." So one thing to note is when people refer to the stock, or they trace their lineage to Abraham, you know, you have to pay attention to the fact that they're talking about Abraham. They're not talking about Jacob, first of all. So what lines do we have? What lineages do we have from Abraham? Of course, you have Isaac, but before Isaac, you have Ishmael. Okay, so you have Ishmael, then you have Isaac and Jacob, and then after Jacob, Abraham later on, when Sarah had died, Abraham married Keturah. So there's a lineage that sprung out of that as well. So when they say that they're kindred to the Spartans, who knows? It could be Keturah's descendants. It could be Ishmael's descendants. It could be Esau's descendants. They are indeed connected to Abraham. That's the way I look at it. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for getting into that, because I was kind of wondering if that was what we were talking about there. So what I wonder from that, because I don't know much about it. So first of all, it was impressive just to think of, okay, so Spartans were possibly Black. That's interesting. That went over my head. That was interesting in itself, right? So
Yes.
kind of just in
Yes.
itself. Okay, so past that little bit of fun history, I'm wondering the issue of them being called Jew here. And then whenever we have that connection of Abraham, similar to what was the scripture when they were trying to say, you know, we are of the seed of Abraham, we've never been in bondage. What was that?
I think it's in the book of John, maybe chapter 8.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm wondering if this is another kind of one of those twist and bend things that's written in there to now assign themselves, or are we getting actual history? Because that also goes into something else I was looking at that was pointed out earlier with Maccabees. Let me see if I put it in the right note. Okay. So it was mentioned earlier, Jonathan ripping his clothes. Right. And to my knowledge, and anyone please correct me, but to my knowledge, that was always something that I was known of or associated with Arabic culture. Meaning when you go to rip your shirt, it's a symbol of, at this moment, I'm ready to die for whatever it is I'm standing for at this moment, which goes along with what was happening in that scripture when Jonathan ripped his clothes. And it's interesting within Maccabees because as we see these, just like the Bible and everything else, we see these different cultures weaving in and out, and we're trying to unravel like some of the mess right now. So I'm wondering again, was that a interjection of culture, or at that time were they actually Arabic people, or I guess a third option would be, at that time had the Arabic slave trade already occurred, therefore now they have Arabic customs. I know that was probably a little too much, but
No, it's
anyway,
okay.
thank you for answering that question about the Spartans. But it all but all that made me think, like, are we dealing with some actual information here, or is it kind of some cultural things woven in and out?
All right.
I
So,
like everybody's head down, so obviously something caught you. So okay, that's
all right. Let me try and give you some answers.
all right.
And then before we go to, okay. So first of all, on the term Jews, whenever I saw the word Jews in the book of Maccabees, I just replaced it with Israelites. And you'll see sometimes they use the word Israelites. I think that when the word Jews is used here, sometimes it's actually, I think most times it's misleading. And maybe this was part of the translation, whether it was deliberate or not, I don't know. But it's misleading because today, first of all, we don't define Jews the way the Jews defined the word Jews. See, back then, if you were a descendant of Judah, you are called a Jew. So what happens if you are a descendant of Joseph? You are not called a Jew, but you are called an Israelite. See, these were brothers. Now, also, if you lived in the land that belonged to Judah, the fourth son of Jacob, people could refer to you as a Jew, just like you might refer to somebody living in Texas as a Texan. But that person may not be of the lineage, bloodline of Judah. And we know that the Benjamites and not Judeans, but Judah's descendants, the Jews, they lived in that territory. And they had some Levites. So those three people were at some different points, that those people that were living in that territory, they could be called a Jew. So when we're reading here and it says Jew, it's very misleading. So I would replace it with Israelite. And even when we read our scriptures, many times it is referring to Israelites, but somebody translated it to Jew, not all times, but many times. And therefore it becomes confusing. Now, yes, there are some people who will say, I am a Jew, because they're saying they're from that lineage of Judah, or their ancestors were in that territory of Judah, and therefore they're referred to as a Jew. All right, let me talk about Jonathan ripping his clothes, putting some soil or dirt on his body, and whether that is of Arabic culture. I don't know of it being of Arabic culture. That is new to me, but I do know of it being of African culture. In fact, I will point you to very recent events, recent maybe 30 years ago. In Kenya, there was a lady called Wangari Maathai. She is now passed away. She was a Nobel Peace Prize winner. She was an environmentalist. And around 1990, Kenya was fighting for multipartyism. We were a one-state country. And they had imprisoned a lot of people, and they were torturing them. And the mothers were crying, release these political prisoners. And Wangari Maathai organized and mobilized a bunch of mothers. And they told the president, if you don't release these guys, I'm going to bring these mothers to the Freedom Square. It's called Uhuru Park, in the middle of the city. And they're going to strip naked. And this act of stripping your clothes or tearing your clothes, I know some cultures, including Wangari Maathai's, it indicates I have nothing to hide. And before you can see I have nothing to hide. I'm coming as I was born. And before my God, I am expressing my anger at whatever the issue is. And I'm asking you who is seeing me expressing this, I'm asking you to listen to what I'm doing and act accordingly, or the Most High to act accordingly. When they take the earth and they put it on themselves, they're saying, this is where I came. This is where I came from. And even if I have to go back there, may you, the Most High, be the judge. So they're taking this earth and putting it on themselves as if to show I am just but dust, okay? And I'm not afraid if this means, the Most High will take me out or somebody will take me out. I'm at that point. What is significant here with Jonathan is that he does this and then he pleads to the Most High. And it's the same thing that you see with other people in the scriptures, like David, they put on sackcloth and they put ash on their faces. They're showing they're repentant. They're saying, I'm just as good as ashes. They're displaying this to the Most High. So I don't know if the Arabians had these practices before, but I do know that first we had Black people, then when Black people intermixed with other non-melanated races, we got Arabic people. So I don't know who had the practice first, but that would be my response. Yep. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share if you find this content helpful.